President Biden visited Vietnam over the weekend to solidify economic ties with that country. But what might have stuck more were some awkward moments from a news conference that had the internet ablaze. Biden capped off his trip to Asia in Hanoi, delivering a news conference in which he only took questions from 5 pre-selected media members.
And now I will take your questions. Let me see. They told me they gave me 5 people here.
Now, Biden was abruptly cut off by White House Press Secretary Jean-Pierre, ending the presser very abruptly. Take a look.
We talked about at the conference overall. We talked about stability. We talked about making sure that the third world, the Southern Hemisphere had access to changes, had access. It wasn't confrontational at all.
Thank you, everybody. This ends the press conference. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Before being rushed off stage, however, Biden addressed the press in the G20 Leaders Summit, one point quoting a John Wayne movie in an attempt to take a swipe at climate deniers. Let's watch that.
My brother loves having, there's famous lines from movies that he always quotes, and one of them is there's a movie about John Wayne. He's an Indian scout, and they're trying to get I think it was the Apache, one of the great tribes of America, back on the reservation, and he's standing with the Union. So they're all on their horses and their saddles, and there's 3 or 4 Indians in headdresses, and the Union soldiers. And the Union soldiers basically saying to the Indians, "Come with me, we'll take care of you. Everything will be good." And the Indian looks at John Wayne and points to the Union soldier and says, "He's a lion, dog-faced pony soldier." Well, there's a lot of lion, dog-faced pony soldiers out there about global warming.
We reached out to the White House for comment, and this was the response that we got. It doesn't sound like you attended the press conference. The president planned for 5 questions and ended up taking 7. Karine called the press conference to a close when it was done. As normal, the president gave detailed answers about the progress made in his marathon G20 meetings, the U.S.-China relationship, his Indo-Pacific strategy, and climate change. Here are some stories from reporters who were actually there. The AP, Biden says U.S. outreach to Vietnam is about providing global stability, not containing China. New York Times, Biden hails an upgrade in U.S.-Vietnam relations amid Chinese aggression in the region. CBS, Biden calls for stability in U.S.-China relationship. I don't want to contain China. The Guardian, Joe Biden calls for stable U.S.-China relationship during Southeast Asia tour.
Great.
Some glowing headlines there.
Cool. So back to the issue at hand.
I think he's calling us lying, dog-faced pony soldiers.
Look, I have no quibble with the idea that Biden was only supposed to take 5 questions. I even will credit him for taking more questions than was initially planned, although that in and of itself could be taken as evidence that he was not able to follow the script or the plan of the evening. What was obviously notable that the White House seems not to be willing to respond to is that Jean-Pierre didn't cut him off after the 7th question. She cut him off in the middle of his answer to the 7th question. And not only did she choose to interrupt the president in the middle of answering a question and start playing, I don't know if she played it or the event space played it, what sounded like Oscar playoff music for when your speech is going on too long. But that it happened after Biden seemed to be having difficulty finding words. Look, whom amongst us has not forgotten the term global south? It is a relatively new term. I don't judge him for that. But the fact that what it felt like was that whoever cut him off, apparently Jean-Pierre, was nervous about his inability to wrap that question up, that he was stumbling through things, that he told this bizarre anecdote about dog-faced pony soldiers that he's been warned against telling in the past because it's so off-putting.
Well, because in 2020, he said this to a constituent, to a possible voter at a town hall type event who had asked him reasonably, given your advanced age and the fact that you hadn't won, I think this was maybe New Hampshire, and he hadn't won Iowa. So the question was asked, "Why should we get behind you?" And he said, that he called her that lying dog-faced pony soldier. It's a really weird, awkward moment. He's done it before. I guess that's a famous Biden gaffe or something, but he brought it out again. He does have this There are times in the past at press conferences when he was still doing them with some regularity, which is not the, he doesn't do as many press conferences. Even Trump did. Trump loved doing the press conferences. Biden leaves it to Karine Jean-Pierre. But where he'd be like, they'd say it's done, and they'd be like, no, they don't want to, his own handlers, his own team, they don't want me to talk to you more, but I'm going to talk to you more because I'm a man of the people. Gosh darn it.
Right.
So maybe they were going for that here, but it was poorly. If so, it was poorly organized, and it seemed disorganized, and that he seems totally clueless to what the program is.
Right. I mean, and another clip that was going viral from this exact same event, the same these same remarks. He said, I'm just following my orders here, and I don't know about you, but I'm going to go to bed. And people were making a lot of that. So again, it's one of these, like, my team is telling me this, but I want to do this, or I'm just following orders. People were reading into that he doesn't have control over his own schedule, that he's not the one that's really making decisions. And obviously, I'm going to go to bed. It does give the implication that he is not someone with a lot of stamina. Which
this whole trip is supposed to disabuse people of this notion, because it's a marathon of 5 days. International travel is exhausting for normal people often. I know he gets to do it in great comfort on Air Force One and all that.
Right.
But if they're trying to prove to people that he's up for this, that he's up for another 5 years of this, I don't know that they're doing a good job. And in fact, if people are paying attention, which maybe they're not, but if anyone who is paying attention and has questions about Biden's fitness to do this in the future, are they being set at ease by this kind of thing? I doubt it. I can't see how you possibly could be set at ease.
Right. And again, I just want to say, just because someone says, all right, I've got to go to bed, people are allowed to be tired, when you take a 17-hour trip or whatever it is to the other side of the world. But it's all of these things in tandem. And I honestly do think that the worst thing optically to come out of this particular event was Karine Jean-Pierre's cutting him off mid-sentence, because that feels like a vote of no confidence from his team, as opposed to Biden just being Biden.
Right. They don't want to, because they cringe and they don't want to hear his long, rambling anecdotes for any longer.
Yeah.
He had a wreath laying moment where he looked so old as well. You were showing me that before we played this.
Yeah. Look, and again, I saw a comedian. Oh, it wasn't a comedian. It was the Brian Cox, who plays the father on Succession.
Yeah.
He was joking on a Tonight Show. He wasn't being critical of Biden substantively, but he was saying, people who run all the time, you guys are messed up. You're the ones with the bad knee problem. I've been sitting on a couch all my life, and look at me. I'm the same age as Biden, and I'm limber as can be. So it could just be evidence that Biden has been an active person, and his joints are worn out, and it has something to do with his cognitive fitness. But again, I'm much less concerned about whether or not he slowly lays a wreath, although it's not good optics, than I am his mental, his cognitive lapses, if you will.
Yeah. And we'll have more Rising right after this.